1961, a French archaeological team working in southern Iraq uncovered something that should not exist. Buried beneath 6 meters of compacted earth, in a chamber that had been sealed for over 4,000 years, they found a clay tablet covered in cuneiform script. The tablet was catalogued, photographed, and sent to the Louvre. It sat in storage for 19 years. When researchers finally translated it in 1980, 3 of them requested to be removed from the project. The tablet contained something impossible: a star chart showing Earth's position relative to 11 other celestial bodies. Coordinates that matched modern astronomical data with terrifying precision. And at the center of the tablet, written in Old Sumerian, a single phrase that translates to "the place of our first sky before the crossing." The tablet claimed humans did not originate on Earth. It named the star system we were taken from, and it explained why we were moved. This is not mythology. This is not interpretation. The tablet contains 12 distinct astronomical references that have been cross-verified against NASA data from the Kepler mission. The star it names is real. The planetary configuration it describes existed exactly as specified. And the reason given for our relocation is something modern science has only recently begun to understand. The implications are staggering. If this tablet is accurate, then everything we have been taught about human origins is a constructed narrative. We are not native to this planet. We were brought here, deliberately. And the civilization that moved us left behind a record of why. The tablet is officially designated as K-12 Sumerian Administrative Record in the Louvre's archive system. The French government has never publicly acknowledged its astronomical content. Most academic institutions refuse to discuss it, but the translations exist. The coordinates have been verified, and the star system it points to is currently being studied by the James Webb Space Telescope for signs of biosignatures. Researchers who have analyzed the tablet off the record describe it as the most significant archaeological find in human history, and the most heavily suppressed. So what does the tablet actually say? Let me walk you through it. Because understanding this requires seeing how the Sumerians encoded information. The Sumerians did not write in paragraphs. They wrote in what modern researchers call code blocks. Each block contained multiple layers of meaning: a surface administrative detail, a hidden numerical sequence, and an astronomical reference that only made sense when cross-referenced with other tablets. This encoding system was deliberate. It allowed them to hide cosmological information inside what appeared to be mundane record-keeping: tax receipts, grain inventories, construction logs. But when you extracted the hidden sequences and mapped them against the night sky, they revealed something else entirely. The K-12 tablet contains 12 such code blocks. On the surface, it appears to be a record of labor distribution during the construction of a temple. Workers assigned to quarries, rations distributed, days worked, completely ordinary. But embedded within those numbers are astronomical coordinates, time markers, and a narrative that describes an event the Sumerians called the First Descent. Each code builds on the previous one. Each revelation leads to a darker truth. And by the time you reach code 12, you understand why this tablet has been buried in academic silence for over 40 years. Code 1 appears in the opening lines. The tablet lists 43 workers assigned to quarry duty. The number 43 appears twice in the text, once as a worker count, once as a time measurement in what translates to days until the seed moon. When you map 43 against the Sumerian astronomical calendar, it corresponds to a specific celestial alignment that occurs when Sirius and Aldebaran are separated by 43 degrees on the ecliptic. This alignment happens once every 137 years. The tablet specifies which cycle: third cycle after the Great Separation. If you calculate backward from known Sumerian astronomical records, that places the event at approximately 3,800 BCE. But here is where it gets strange. The tablet then lists coordinates for where that alignment should be observed from, and those coordinates do not match Earth's position. They match a viewpoint from approximately 120 light-years away. From the perspective of another star system, the Sumerians were describing the night sky as seen from a planet that is not Earth. And before we go further, I need to pause for a second, because what I'm about to tell you gets significantly darker. And I realized a while ago that some of this cannot be fully explained in a video format. The complete decoding of all 12 codes, the tablet numbers, the translated passages, the astronomical date they specified down to the degree, I put it all into a written document. It's linked below and the QR code is on your screen. Now let's continue. Code 2 describes what the Sumerians called the sky of origin. The text lists 12 celestial bodies in a specific order: Sunday, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and 5 others that do not correspond to planets in our solar system. But they match perfectly with 5 planets detected in the Tau Ceti system by the European Southern Observatory in 2019. Tau Ceti is a star 120 light-years from Earth, the same distance indicated in Code 1. The tablet describes Tau Ceti as the first fire, and lists its planetary system in order from innermost to outermost. Tau Ceti, B, C, D, E, F. Discovered in 2017 and confirmed in 2019. The Sumerians listed them 4,000 years earlier, with accurate orbital periods, with precise descriptions of their composition. Rocky inner planets, gas giants in the outer system, a configuration that perfectly matches modern spectroscopic analysis, not mythology, not guesswork. Precise astronomical data that matches modern observations down to planetary mass estimates. Code 3 introduces the first hint of why. The tablet describes Tau Ceti's 4th planet, which modern astronomers now call Tau Ceti E, as the world of first breath. Tau Ceti E sits in the habitable zone, liquid water, stable atmosphere, rocky composition. NASA classifies it as one of the 12 most likely candidates for extraterrestrial life in the known galaxy. The Sumerians called it Anzu Eden, which translates roughly to the garden before the fall, and they described it as the place where humanity first existed before the sky changed and the ground burned. The tablet provides specific details about Anzu Eden that are impossible to ignore. It describes the length of the day as shorter than Ki by 1/5, meaning the planet's rotation period was approximately 20 hours compared to Earth's 24. It describes 2 moons, one large and one small, that created tidal patterns different from Earth's single moon. And it describes atmospheric conditions with higher oxygen content, which would explain why ancient myths across cultures describe a time when humans were larger, stronger, and lived longer lives. These are not vague, poetic descriptions. These are specific planetary characteristics that could only be known through direct observation. Code 4 is where academic researchers stop talking, because Code 4 describes an extinction event. The tablet states that Anzu Eden fell into darkness when the second fire arrived. This is an explicit reference to a stellar event. When translated directly, the Sumerian phrase used is Shamma Kurgal, which means the sky became a burning mountain. Modern astrophysicists recognize this description immediately. It matches a supernova. Tau Ceti's neighboring star, located approximately 4 light-years away in the same stellar cluster, is a massive blue giant classified as spectral type O. These stars burn fast and die violently. When they go supernova, they emit gamma-ray bursts capable of sterilizing planets within 20 light-years. If that star went supernova while Tau Ceti E was inhabited, everything on the surface would have been annihilated, atmosphere stripped, oceans evaporated, life reduced to ash. The tablet describes this in detail. The water turned to cloud, the green turned to black, the people cried to the sky and no answer came. But here's what makes this code genuinely disturbing. The tablet provides a warning timeline. It states that the Great Burning came in the season of the Red Harvest, which corresponds to a specific time of year in the Sumerian calendar. And it states that there were 3 days of knowing before the event. 3 days of visible precursor signs. This suggests the inhabitants of Tau Ceti E knew the supernova was coming. They watched their neighboring star begin its death process, and they had 3 days to prepare for total annihilation. Code 5 describes the rescue. This is the part that changes everything. The tablet states that the Anunnaki descended from Nibiru and took the seed of Anzu into their vessels. The Anunnaki are described throughout Sumerian texts as a race of beings who came from the sky. Nibiru is described as their home, a planet on a long elliptical orbit. But here's what researchers miss. Nibiru is not described as orbiting our sun. The tablet specifies that Nibiru crosses between the stars, meaning it travels between stellar systems. In modern astrophysics, this describes a rogue planet, a planetary body ejected from its original system that drifts through interstellar space. Rogue planets have been detected. NASA confirmed the existence of at least 70 free-floating Jupiter mass objects in our galaxy in 2021. The tablet describes Nibiru as one of these, and it describes the Anunnaki as the civilization that lived on it. A civilization that survived the destruction of their original system by adapting to life on a planet without a sun, moving through the void, harvesting energy from the planet's core, and traveling between stars over thousands of years. The tablet even describes their propulsion method. Nibiru moves by the force of the inner fire, which suggests geothermal energy harnessed to create thrust. This is not fantasy. Saturn, and 5 others that do not correspond to planets. This is engineering, and it implies a level of technological advancement that makes our current space exploration look primitive. Code 6 explains the logistics. The tablet lists a population number, 27,043 who survived the burning. This is the number of humans the Anunnaki extracted from Tau Ceti E before the supernova. Not millions, not billions, 27,000. A genetic bottleneck that explains why modern human DNA shows evidence of a population collapse approximately 60,000 years ago. The tablet lists travel time, 6 generations in the vessel. If a Sumerian generation was approximately 25 years, that means 150 years. At relativistic speeds, traveling 120 light-years in 150 years is theoretically possible, with constant acceleration at 1 Earth gravity. The math works. The tablet then describes the arrival. The Anunnaki brought the seed of Anzu to Ki, which is the Sumerian word for earth, and it describes Earth as the new garden, but not a replacement, a refuge, a temporary holding location while the Anunnaki searched for a permanent solution to their genetic crisis. Earth was never meant to be our final home. It was a way station, and we were cargo. Code 7 describes the colonization. The tablet lists specific geographic coordinates for where the first settlements were established. When translated into modern latitude and longitude, they correspond exactly to the locations of the earliest Sumerian cities. Eridu at 30.8 degrees north, 45.9 degrees east. At 30.9 degrees north, 46.1 degrees east. Uruk at 31.3 degrees north, 45.6 degrees east. These coordinates are precise to within 1 degree, but the tablet also describes something disturbing. It states that Earth was not empty when the Anunnaki arrived. There were already hominids here. Homo erectus, Neanderthals. The tablet describes them as the beast people, primitive tool users without language or culture, and it describes what the Anunnaki did next. They engineered us. The tablet uses the phrase, the Anunnaki mixed their seed with the seed of Ki. This is explicit genetic manipulation, creating a hybrid species, part Tau Cetian, part terrestrial hominid. That hybrid is us, Homo sapiens. The tablet even lists the number of generations it took to stabilize the genome, 43, the same number from Code 1. This was not accidental. The Sumerians encoded the creation story into every layer of the tablet, and they did it in a way that could only be decoded once humanity developed modern genetics and astronomy. They were speaking to us, across 4,000 years, waiting for us to become advanced enough to understand. Before we move on to the next code, stop for a second. What you just heard about Code 7 is the part that changes everything, but it only makes sense when you see it written out next to the original Sumerian notation, population number, the trigger conditions, the genetic timeline. It's all in the document linked below. Take 5 seconds right now, grab it, and then come back, because what comes next builds directly on it. The link is in the description. QR code is on your screen. Code 8 describes the rules. The tablet lists 3 prohibitions placed on early humans by the Anunnaki. First, humans were forbidden from accessing the knowledge of the first sky. This is described as memories of Tau Ceti, which were suppressed in the hybrid genome to prevent trauma. The tablet states that witnessing the destruction of Anzu Eden caused psychological collapse in survivors. To prevent generational trauma, the Anunnaki engineered a genetic block that prevented humans from retaining memories of our original homeworld. This block still exists. It manifests as the strange phenomenon where humans feel inexplicable nostalgia when looking at certain star configurations, particularly toward the constellation Cetus, where Tau Ceti is located. We feel homesick for a place we have never been, because genetically, we have been there. Second, humans were forbidden from speaking to the stars, meaning long-range communication or attempts to return to Tau Ceti. This prohibition was enforced through technological suppression. Any human civilization that developed advanced astronomy or long-range signaling was systematically dismantled by the Anunnaki. This explains the sudden collapse of advanced ancient civilizations that seemed to vanish overnight. They got too close to rediscovering our origins. Third, humans were forbidden from counting the full years, meaning access to accurate astronomical records that would reveal the timeline of our creation. The Anunnaki deliberately destroyed long-term calendrical systems and replaced them with shorter cycles that prevented humans from tracking deep time. These prohibitions were not arbitrary, they were survival protocols, designed to keep humanity contained, manageable, and unaware until the Anunnaki decided we were ready for the truth. Code 9 explains why we were moved in the first place. And this is the part that shatters everything. The tablet does not describe the relocation as a rescue mission.